Thanks for hitting the download button on the family-friendly version of the Steve Austin Show. We're going to get things going here after I show a little appreciation for the Dollar Shave Club. Y'all know that I have a ton of Dollar Shave Club razors around 316 and 317 Gimmick Street. I boxed them up, brought them straight to the rental house, and the reason I did is because Dollar Shave Club gives you a close, smooth shave at a great price. And y'all know how much I love saving money, and that's a shoot. So why settle for a cheap bag of disposable razors or paying through the nose for a razor with 17 blades and a laser pointer when there's a better option? DollarShaveClub.com/Steve offers you that missing middle ground. You no longer have to choose between a painful shave with a disposable razor or pay a fortune for the latest shaving breakthrough. Dollar Shave Club offers the best of both worlds without breaking your bank or your face. You get a premium quality shave at the disposable shave price. And if you haven't tried Dollar Shave Club yet, you're missing out. It's an amazing shave at an affordable price. There's no smarter choice on the market. And right now, they're giving away a 1-month trial of any of their razors for just $1 with free shipping. After that, it's just a few bucks a month. Ain't no long-term commitments, ain't no hidden fees, and you can cancel whenever you want. So get your $1 trial started at DollarShaveClub.com/Steve. That's DollarShaveClub.com/Steve.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Holy smokes, I got a good show for you today. I'm talking to Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express. I just found out this morning that Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, Rock and Roll Express, are going into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it's about damn time. Man, I read that news on Twitter. My phone started blowing up. Hell, I waited a little bit, and I called Ricky, and he says, man, he goes, it's one of the most exciting things that's ever happened to him, and his phone was absolutely blowing up. It was a who's who of people calling him from the business and all of his friends as well. And I said, hey, man, tell Robert, I said, congratulations. He goes, hey, man, I'll give you Robert's phone number. You can tell him yourself. I said, that'd be great. Man, I started talking to Robert. We started shooting the breeze and talking about old times and stories and stuff. And I said, well, man, why don't we just do a podcast? So a podcast happened. And so Robert Gibson is my guest today on the show. And it's caught me at real short notice, so I could have done a little bit more research, but since it came out of the blue, there was only about an hour worth of research that I could do. But, man, it was fun talking to Robert Gibson. And these guys were so influential in my career, and because I was so passionate about pro wrestling from my early days when I started watching at 7 or 8 years old. And, you know, these guys are only about 7 or 8 years older than myself. But, man, I watched everything they did, the classic matches they had with the Russians, Ivan Nikita, the Midnight Express, Arn and Ole, Arn and Tully. I mean, if you named it, I've watched it. I've studied their matches. I've recommended their matches to people that are trying to pick up the business, learn the business. And two guys that just had it all. Great workers, great storytellers, great sellers, great fire, great teamwork. If you're not a fan of the Rock and Roll Express, you really don't know wrestling, or you don't know anything about, I don't know, everybody likes the Rock and Roll Express because that's how talented they were. So anyway, Robert Gibson is my guest today, and we're going to shoot the breeze and talk about what it feels like for them going to the WWE Hall of Fame. Congratulations, guys. But holy smokes, man, before we get to the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson, who watched the Super Bowl last night. God dang. I've been chomping at the bit the last 2 weeks for the Super Bowl to come on. I'm just a rabid football maniac. Football is one of my favorite things to watch on TV. Football, wrestling, UFC, Broken Skull Challenge. Other than that, other than The Walking Dead or Breaking Bad, there's really nothing good on television for a person like myself. So I've been waiting for football to come back on TV. We're down 2 weeks while these teams were practicing to put on this show. I told you last week on the podcast, I said, Atlanta, it'd be great to see them win their first ring. Matt Ryan, Super Bowl MVP. All the dynamic receivers they have, the dynamic running backs, it'd be great to see all those guys get a Super Bowl ring. Then on the other hand, going to be cool if Tom Brady was to win 5 Super Bowls, break from the pack of Montana and Bradshaw and Brady. And then, to get another MVP award would be icing on the cake to take him up to 4. And for Bill Belichick and Tom Brady to reach that 5 mark together, what a tandem quarterback head coach combination that has been. So there were so many stories. I was thinking, either way, it's going to be cool. If Atlanta wins, I win. If New England wins, I win. So they start that game off. Holy smokes. Couple of 3-and-outs. This is supposed to be a high-scoring game. I'm thinking it's going to be a defensive struggle. All of a sudden, Atlanta gets in the end zone. They get in the end zone again. God dang, I think it was a pick 6 to get in the end zone for the put them at the 21-point lead. All of a sudden, God dang, halftime comes. It's 28-3 at halftime. We got a damn blowout on our hands. God dang it. Man, I'm an analyst guy. I like to, at halftime, I want to hear the analysts break down the game, tell me their thoughts on what they see and what's going on. So then Lady Gaga comes on. It's time for me to make a margarita. I'm not really into the halftime festivities. I just want to hear football. So anyway, Lady Gaga performed. I heard it was great. And then they give us a little bit of 4-1-1 heading into the third quarter. Starts up the third quarter. Atlanta's offense ain't been on the field in over an hour. And I tell you what, I don't know what happened at halftime because the biggest lead going into this game that's ever been overcome in a Super Bowl was 10 points. That had happened twice. Well, by the time, midway through the first, second quarter, they were at a 14-point lead, 21-point lead, 25-point lead going into halftime. There's no way that the Patriots can overcome this. And the Patriots find their way into the end zone. Then they miss the point after. And I'm thinking, okay, it could be possible, but it's not likely. Well, it turns out, man, you could see Tom Brady, his body language, he was a little frustrated. They weren't executing on all cylinders. Things weren't really going their way. They couldn't really find any momentum. And then all of a sudden, Atlanta's defense kept making those penalties, extending those New England drives. They score again, and all of a sudden, it's a momentum change. And Brady, the mark of a true champion, the mark of a winner, Belichick on the sideline, all those people just focused on winning that game. They know if they just keep playing to what you would hear them say after the Super Bowl was over, the Patriot way. Play football the Patriot way. Man, everybody's bought into that system. All of a sudden, it's 28-20. And I'll be damned if Tom Brady don't get them in the end zone one more time. 2-point conversion. We got a tie ball game. Holy smokes. You talk about a momentum shift. And that young Atlanta defense was flying around the football in the first half. And I don't know what happened going in that second half. Or if the second half had been a regulation second half and they would have been off the field that long, maybe that would have been a difference. But I think they went in with such a commanding lead at 25 points. I don't know if there was an adrenaline dump, and they thought that there was no way that they could get beat. There's no way that they could blow this lead. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm not even trying to suggest that I know. But who knows what the Patriots were thinking. They always believe in Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, how can you not be a fan of Tom Brady? When he drafted like 199, and then Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and the guy has been nothing but lights out ever since then. He's a winner, and he puts in the work, and he wants it so bad, and he's so cool, composed, collected. Yeah, people talk about the Spygate, Deflategate, any kind of gate, swinging gate. I don't care about none of that stuff. Tom Brady is a winner, and he puts the work in, and with that steady resolve, all of a sudden he rallies that team. He just keeps staying the course, trying to play Patriot football, and that Atlanta defense was beating him up. Holy smokes, that one guy had 3 sacks, another guy had 2. They were knocking him down, they were hitting him, they were sacking him, and god dang, when Tom Brady came back in that second half, he started throwing everything on target. And Edelman with the hellacious catch. While I'm talking about catches, Julio Jones was magnificent the few times that they threw him the football, but those 2 catches that he made were unbelievable. But back to the game, And I'm thinking, holy smokes, we start off the overtime, Patriots get the ball, and Brady starts marching them down the field. And, man, was it James White he had 14 touches, about 120 yards, whatever it was. It could have been the MVP of the game. But, Brady, he passed for 466. And anyway, the New England Patriots win their 5th Super Bowl. God dang, what started off as a blowout turned into one of the best games in the history of the NFL. If that wasn't the best Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls, it's all subjective. It is up there, because you got the story, this young, hot, offensive Atlanta team coming there, and they just started lighting them up. And it was almost like I think Kurt Warner said this, or who was it? The young guys versus the older guys. And those older guys just kept staying the course, and they were getting smoked there for a while. But, man, they just kept head down, nose to the grindstone, and worked out a win. Congratulations to Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft. I remember meeting Robert Kraft way up there in Boston. We were doing something, promotional event, getting ready to push a pay-per-view, when I threw Vince into the water there, and the Patriots had given me that 316 jersey. That jersey still hangs in my closet at the Broken Skull Ranch in South Texas. But Robert Kraft, when I met him that day, was a class act and a gentleman. So to the Kraft family, congratulations to Bill Belichick, one of my favorite coaches of all time, probably the greatest coach of all time. Congrats. Tom Brady, wow, what a job of leadership and composure, and just keeping on playing when the chips are down, and they were, and he just kept moving forward. And congratulations to the entire Patriot team and entire organization. God dang, it was just flat out awesome. Anyway, enough about me gushing about the Super Bowl, but you talk about a football fan, I go into withdrawal now, because I watch football every single week, and it's over. I'll be ready for the Combine in about a month. But anyway, Robert Gibson is my guest. Before we get rolling, I got a favor to ask y'all. You know how much I appreciate you listening to this podcast twice a week, and the reason I'm able to do these shows for you for free is thanks to all the great sponsors. So to make sure this podcast stays free to download and to make sure we keep the commercials to a minimum, please take a couple of minutes to fill out a short survey for me. Go to podcast1.com/mysurvey. It's short and completely anonymous, and will really help us get the right kind of advertisers for this show so that we can keep it free. So again, please help a brother out and take the survey at podcast1.com/mysurvey, or go to podcast1.com and click the survey banner. So we're going to get to the body of this podcast, and we're going to make sure you're set up for Valentine's Day. I don't want to see any stories on Twitter about how your girl's mad at you because you forgot the most romantic day of the year. I'm going to make this really easy for you. Order her some flowers from Books.com. That's BOUQS.com. And then use my promo code Steve to save 20% off your order. She'll get the most beautiful bouquet of flowers she's ever seen. You'll be the Valentine's Day hero, and you'll save a ton of money in the process. And when you register at Books.com, you'll also get a free weekday delivery. And with Books Flowers, there are no hidden fees, no care and handling fees. They ain't going to try and upsell you on a bunch of other stuff. What you see is what you get. And what she'll see on Valentine's Day are some beautiful flowers. Books flowers are grown on eco-friendly farms and cut fresh, so the flowers last longer too. So get to Books.com. That's BOUQS.com, and use my promo code Steve to get 20% off. Books flowers start at just $40, so this ain't going to break your bank either. Get on it. Books.com, and use the promo code Steve to save 20%. And remember to register so that you get the free weekday delivery.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Here we go. God dang, I got him in a headlock. I'm calling a high spot. How are you, Robert?
I'm doing fine, my friend.
God dang, I tell you what, I got up this morning, and I got on the internet, and all of a sudden my Twitter account started blowing up. Everybody knows how big of a fan I am of the Rock and Roll Express, and I heard you guys were finally going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So I called your longtime partner, Ricky Morton, because I had his phone number. I said, hey, man, congratulations. If you talk to Robert, please tell him I said congratulations. He goes, hey, Steve, I'd rather you call him. And I said, well, give me his phone number. So I got your phone number, called you this morning to say congratulations. It turned into a podcast. I apologize to my listeners if I'm underprepared for this podcast, but I was just excited to talk to two of my favorite guys in the business of tag team wrestling. Robert, congratulations on going into the WWE Hall of Fame. What does this mean to you?
Man, I tell you, Steve, it means a lot. You know, worked hard all our life. Me and Ricky, we've been together. We're the longest tag team in history, and we've been out there busting our ass for years. Something you know all about.
What did it feel like to finally get the call?
It was shocking. It was made my heart feel good. Not only that, I got that call, and about 5 minutes later, I got a call from my daughter, and then a call from my son, and they're both expecting babies. 2 boys, and hell, I'm going to be a pawpaw too. So I got good news all the way around that day.
I know you guys are still a little bit on the independent circuit, but being this far removed from the national or worldwide scene, did this catch you out of the blue, or did you think this would never happen?
You know, I can't say I doubt it would ever happen because, you know, we've been around a long time, and a lot of fans, all I get on my emails and Facebook, you know, when are y'all going in? You're way overdue. And I just told them, you know, when it's right, it's right.
Hey, you're a member of Dave Meltzer's Hall of Fame from the Pro Wrestling Observer, and, you know, he has very strict criteria. So, you know, when I was looking you guys up, obviously you belong there. Midnight Express are there as well. But for some reason, you know, the WWE is really, I mean, it's the big time. It's really the only major promotion going, in my opinion, in the United States right now, with respect to the other ones that are still going on. Are you looking forward to getting down to Florida and getting up there and making it official?
Yes, I really am, Steve. It's going to be a big honor. It's always an honor to get something like this, and I'm looking really, really forward to it.
You know, I was starting to do a little bit of research on you guys, and I didn't know. I guess I'd heard many times growing up that both of your parents were deaf.
Yes, sir.
How was that for you growing up with 2 deaf parents?
Well, it was kind of rough. My dad left when I was like 3 years old, and my mom had to raise 5 kids by herself, and that was pretty rough. So I was a baby of the family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was a baby of the family, so I had to hang out with her when she was out trying to get people to donate money for these little cards, you know, ABC cards.
Yes.
That's how she raised us. She was a hard-working woman.
So at what age did you learn to learn sign language?
I guess about 1.5, 2 years old. You know, started picking up the little things. And if you notice, back in our career, a lot of times when Ricky would do his interviews, I would do sign language to the people. And before long, it was amazing to see all these deaf-mute people showing up at the arenas.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
I would invite all the deaf mutes to the arenas, and I was translating what Ricky said, and it was really surprising to see them all come out. That was really cool.
So where was your father during this time? Because wasn't he in their business, or didn't he haul the ring?
No, that was Ricky Morton's dad that carried the ring around during the refereeing times. My dad wouldn't. He left when I was 3. He came back around when I was about 15. I saw him for about a week. And then one night I pulled up in Dothan, Alabama at the farm center, and the security guard come out and says, "Your dad's here." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, your dad's here." And I thought, "Really?" And I saw him, and that was a big shock. And after that, you know, we become close. It was years and years later.
Well, how did you get in the business? Because I know your older brother Ricky was already in the business.
Yeah. We both was. He started when he was like 16, and I was 6 years behind him. So I was like sitting up the wrestling ring when I was about 10, 11 years old, and I followed his steps. You know, Bob Kelly, Ken Lucas, the Wrestling Pro, all them guys. And I started putting up the chairs, and then I got advanced to putting the rings up. Then I started selling tickets. Next thing you knew, I was in the ring refereeing.
So who taught you how to referee?
Mainly just learning and being around it. Mainly a lot of stuff I learned back then was from my brother, Rick Gibson.
So did he actually teach you as far as the mechanics of the business when you made your in-ring debut?
Yeah, I tell you, back then, we didn't have a ring to practice in. We used to go down to Pensacola Beach in the ocean, and he would grab me in that water, like in a front face lock, go to suplex me, trying to explain it, not realizing my head was underwater. He's about to drown me when he suplexes me, you know. and then the body slams come out there in that white sand. So I got tossed around a lot. And Al Spider Galento, I remember being 13 years old, going to his training center. And, back then, you get mat burns on your knees and your elbows. But back then, it was such kayfabe, and they made you tough. Hell, I used to get mat burns on top of my head. And then I'd get on my bicycle and ride back home with tears in my eyes and saying to myself, do I really want this? And by the time I got home, I couldn't say anything because if I'd whine about it, then my brother would whip my butt again. So I was kind of, like I tell my students now when I'm training these boys, I said, y'all have no idea what it was like training 30 years ago, 40 years ago, because you really get the grind, you know. Boys today didn't realize what it was like back then because they were, like I said, you get mat burn on top of your head.
You started, what, in about 1977?
Yes, sir. I was 17. Had my first match against Eddie Sullivan. New Brockton, Alabama.
Well, what about the time, I forget where the territory was, they changed your name.
Yeah, that was in Memphis. When I finally got to Memphis, I was probably 18 then, and they changed my name to Robert Gibson because Rick Gibson was my brother, so they went from Reuben to Robert. Jerry Lawler did that, and I've stuck with Robert Gibson ever since.
So you turned into Robert Gibson, and then were you wrestling more in a singles-type position back then, or were you already doing tags?
I was doing tags with my brother.
Did you enjoy tag team wrestling or singles wrestling more?
Let's back up a little bit. Before that, before I went to Memphis, I was up there in Harley Race's territory with Pat O'Connor and them guys, and Rick Gibson was wrestling Harley Race all over. Ricky was only like 23 years old, and Harley told me later that Rick Gibson was such a natural, they wanted to put the world title on him at 22 years old. And they'd go out there and they'd have hour Broadways. Then they'd go out there for an hour and a half Broadway. And instead of me wrestling as a Gibson brother, they gave me a name as Reuben Goldstein.
I was reading that, Kansas City, 1974. Goldstein.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to your brother? I was reading. I know he passed away in 2006, but he had a real bad car wreck in the 1980s, early 1980s. And man, every time when I would be in WCW, we'd talk about some of the older days, and I would be, talking about the Rock and Roll Express, you and Ricky, and then you and Ricky Morton. But your brother's name would always come up, and they said, "Oh man, you should have seen his brother. His brother was a hell of a worker." Oh, what happened in that car wreck to end his career?
Well, a drunk driver hit him head on, and I got a phone call that said, your brother's in the hospital, you need to get there quick. And when I got there, in the emergency room, I heard somebody screaming, and I knew it was him screaming, and the doctor came out, he says, who's here with Rick Gibson? I said, that's my brother. And the doctor asked me, he says, what does this guy do for a living? I said, he's a professional wrestler. He said, I know he had to be something like that. He said, because he said, you hear him screaming? I said, yes, sir. He said, that's because they had to cut the emergency brake pedal off because it went through his calf and out his knee. Mm. They had to cut the emergency brake pedal from the car, and it was still in his leg. They couldn't remove it because he was bleeding on the inside. So they had to wait until the blood got there before they could take that metal out of his leg. And the doctor told me, he said, the average guy would have done passed out. He said, I knew he had to do something, he said, because he's got scars all over his body.
God dang, I was reading the report here, said he was in intensive care for 39 days. What was that effectively the end of his career?
Well, actually, he lived. It happened in the late 80s. And he lived to 2006. Finally, all the morphine and all the pills he took for pain over the years finally caught up with him.
But that was the end of his in-ring career after that surgery from the car wreck?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. He never wrestled again.
Man, I hate to harp on a bad subject, but being that young with that much potential, what kind of effect did that have on him? You know, all those, getting out in the 80s, he was alive until 2006, but how did he take that? I mean, that's kind of right there in line with, the Magnum TA accident, which ended his career.
Exactly. I remember one night in Smoky Mountain where me and Ricky Morton was wrestling Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton, and they had Cornette outside, and they had my brother handcuffed to Tammy Fitch. So as soon as they took them handcuffs off, the match was over. Cornette got in the ring and said, "You old washed up has-been Ricky Gibson." And back then he had a cane, and out of nowhere he dropped that cane. He dove in the ring like he did back in his younger day, and he made a comeback. And after he made a comeback, when the heel scooted out, he grabbed me and says, "Holy brother," he said, "hold me up." I said, "What the hell are you doing?" But it was unreal. He made his last comeback right there.
Hey,
nowhere.
Jerry Lawler or Jerry Jarrett, either one, is often credited with putting you and Ricky Morton together. But in doing some reading before I talked to you, is actually your brother Ricky that put you together. So explain to me, or put the bottom line on how you and Ricky formed the Rock and Roll Express, or at least were put together.
Okay. Well, right after my brother had that car wreck, me and my brother was partners in Mid-South with Jerry Jarrett and them. After he had that car wreck, I was doing some singles, and Ricky Morton was out in San Antonio. Him and Ken Lucas were partners. So I'm in Florida, and I get a phone call from Jerry Lawler. He said he wanted to team me and Ricky Morton up. Well, I knew Ricky Morton through the wrestling family for years, but we never tagged. So they brought us up here to Memphis, and me and Ricky Morton got together, and they had a flea market outside the Coliseum that night, and Jerry Lawler took me and Ricky Morton out there, and we started buying bandanas and feathers and going to see what we're going to wear, how they're going to dress us up. We got all this stuff out there, and we just put it all over us. And I remember our first night doing our debut in Memphis, as we're getting ready to go out, the security guard says, "I don't know whether to call y'all rock stars or Indians." Didn't know what to call us. And Jerry Lawler gave me a pair of his outfit. He had a blue pair and a tan pair. Ricky Morton grabbed that blue pair, and I got stuck with that tan pair, and it looked like I was naked with bandanas on.
How was the debut?
The debut was great, and at the time they had the Fabulous Ones as their main headliners, so we would do the spot shows as the headliners, but eventually we knew we weren't going to get past the Fabulous Ones because that was Jerry Jarrett's boys. So they come up there one night, Bill Watts and Eddie Graham out of Florida come to Memphis, and they were looking for some tag teams. And after that night we got through wrestling, Eddie Graham called us in there. He said, "Jerry Jarrett, I don't know what you're thinking." He says, "I know what you want. You got the Fabs." He says, "But this Ricky Morton, that Robert Gibson," says, "they come here to get over. They come here to work." And Bill Watts took us to Louisiana. He's never used small guys before. He said, "I'm going to give y'all a chance." So we went down there, and thank God we broke all of his records that he had over the years. And then after that, we're in the Superdome, and Jim Crockett comes down there at the Superdome. He says, "The only reason I'm here tonight, boys, is to see y'all work." He said, "Ric Flair told me," he said, "I've got to come down here and see y'all guys." He said, "I'm here tonight for one reason, to watch y'all work." And we went out there and did a job for Ted DiBiase. I think it was Dr. Death. We got back in the locker room, and Jim Crockett said, "Boys, my territory is not doing what y'all doing down here." He said, "Our territory is kind of down right now." He said, "But if y'all will come work for me, I'll give y'all a chance at the world titles." And so they played our music and our videos for 2 or 3 weeks before we went down to the Carolinas. And be honest with you, we got to the Carolinas, I never saw a bad house.
So you guys were over. You guys were over when you got there, based on them playing your videos and your vignettes.
Exactly. And I remember Shelby, North Carolina, July of '85. You know how they put the TV sheet on the wall, all the matches?
Yes.
So they had me and Ricky on the first match against the Russians. We've never even wrestled the Russians, and they got the undercard on the TV getting ready to go after our match, and they didn't smart nobody up. So we go out there and we work. We knew we was going to go 55 minutes and win the title. So but everybody underneath us on that card, TV, going to find out later, they was all going, well, hell, they're taking up our time. So we did the whole hour show and won the world titles. And as Magnum TA said, we shocked the world.
Okay, you shocked the world. You were in that promotion. Let's go back to the Watts territory when that was the first time Watts had used smaller guys. What was the atmosphere like in the locker room? Because, man, when you look back in the day, y'all had a pretty stout locker room. Everybody was pretty much a big guy, 250 plus almost. So, like, how were you guys perceived? Because I know Watts said, hey, you guys are going to have to sell for these guys.
Exactly. So we're in the locker room. He brought us in. And Bill Watts told all them big boys, I'm talking about Duggan and Hercules and Hernandez, like I said, they were all 250 plus. And Bill Watts told them, he says, when these guys here, these guys here are going to make money for us. He says, when they hit you, he said, you better fly like I hit you. And me and Ricky thought, hell, we done got buried right off the bat,
Was there any type of heat out of that, or did everybody get it? They knew that they were trying to get you over. I mean, because back in the day,
everybody got it, and everybody loved to work with us, and because we were the kind of team that we was able to adjust to work with anybody. And when everybody's making money, that means everybody's making money. Then he also told them, if you hurt one of these boys, don't even think about coming back to the dressing room. Just get your bag and get the hell out of town.
That's a double set of heat on you. But, hey, man, he's making an investment, and he's sending a message to the whole locker room. I just think it's real important to point that out. As much pressure as you guys were on or had on you, he really set the table for you because he believed that you guys could get over and draw money. But, hey, it's going to take a whole team effort for the guys to – you know how it is, man. If no one wants to sell for you, nobody gives a rat's ass. And so –
that's right.
It turns out that Bill Watts was a very smart guy, and y'all had a great run wherever you went.
He laid it out.
All right, got to take a minute here to thank another sponsor who's making it possible for me to do the Steve Austin Show. Hanes with Fresh IQ. Underwear is important to us all, and at the end of a long day, our socks, undershirts, and underwear start to develop a certain aroma. Let's call it funk. And we all suffer from the funk from time to time. It's a fact of life. So that's why Hanes invented Fresh IQ Advanced Odor Protection Technology. Hanes with Fresh IQ Advanced Odor Protection Technology attacks bacteria and keeps fabric from absorbing the funk and other unpleasant aromas. That means your socks, T-shirts, and boxers smell fresher longer. So forget smartwatches and fitness trackers. This is the latest and greatest wearable tech. The underwearable wonder of odor-controlling Hanes with Fresh IQ Advanced Odor Protection Technology. And right now, you can get $15 off any order of $75 or more at Hanes.com. Just use the promo code FRESHAUSTIN. Some exclusions apply. So replace your old ratty boxer briefs, yellowed T-shirts, and mismatched socks. There's never been a better time to upgrade your obsolete undergarments with all-new Fresh IQ socks, shirts, and underwear from Hanes, America's #1 underwear. Just go to Hanes.com and use the promo code FRESHAUSTIN to save $15 off your order of $75 or more. Hanes with Fresh IQ Advanced Odor Protection Technology, the smart way to stay fresh.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
So you and Ricky become this tag team, the Rock and Roll Express. Who came up with the name Rock and Roll Express?
Well, at first they were going to call us the R&R Express, Ricky and Robert. But then, I'd say if it's between Lawler and Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy Hart, he tells me all the time that he came up with the name Rock and Roll. Lawler says he did. So it's kind of, it's between them two. I really don't know. I just know it was between them two.
Okay, so you guys had massive success with it. And y'all are one of my favorite tag teams of all time from, to right now. I was a big fan of you guys, and, I'm just right behind you in age, but you guys were a generation ahead of me in the business. When you and Ricky first got together, you'd been tagging with your brother, Ricky, but now you're with Ricky Morton. How long did it take for you guys to achieve the type of chemistry that you did? Because I was in a tag team, the Hollywood Blondes, with Flying Brian, not for a very long time, but
I remember that.
It took us a while to really gel together. So how long was that process for you and Ricky?
I don't think it took too long, because what I did is I just did with Ricky Morton what my brother taught me with him. So all the spots that me and my brother did, me and Ricky Morton did. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Rick Gibson was the first guy to ever do the drop kick off the top rope.
That's what I was reading.
1972. That's a big thing in Japan. They talk about that a lot. Yeah, Rick Gibson was the first guy to do the drop kick off the top rope, and so basically what me and Ricky Morton did was the same stuff that me and my brother did.
When did you guys know that you was on something special with the rock and roll? I mean, because when Watts took you down there, and like I said, they had the fabulous one. So and Watts came in and cherry picked you, and then all of a sudden here comes Crockett a little bit longer. How was the experience with Bill Watts? How long were y'all there actually? Even a year?
We were there from 82 to 85.
Okay, so 3 years.
Yeah. And you know what? And Eddie Graham, I believe if he hadn't passed, I believe he would have took us to Florida before we even had a chance to go to Mid-South. Because he was like the top of the guy of the NWA back then. And he's the one that come down there and told Jerry Jarrett, that's the team, Rock and Roll Express is the team y'all need to be pushing.
Well, who all did you guys work with down there in Mid-South? I mean, Bill Watts territory, whether it's Mid-South Power Pro or you can eventually turn it into UWF, because you took the titles off the Russians, but who were the established tag teams that you were working in that territory?
Well, what they did in Mid-South, they brought the Midnight Express down there. Bill Dundee was the booker then.
Yes.
They brought the Midnight Express down there and had them go over everybody. Then we came in. They brought us in to work with these other teams, like Ted DiBiase, Dr. Death, Hercules Hernandez. But then they built up for the Express to fight the Express. So we had our big run with the Midnight.
So y'all were already starting with the Midnights down there in Mid-South.
Exactly.
Oh man, because some of your I got to go back and watch more film, because most of your stuff that I saw was all the stuff with the Crockett's. Yeah,
we drew a lot of money with the Midnight Express down there. Like I said, they went there first, and then we came into Mid-South, and when we left there, we went to Crockett's, and then the Midnight came to Crockett's.
Okay, so y'all preceded them. Okay, so then in the early days, then that would have been Bobby and Loverboy Dennis Condrick, correct?
Correct.
How was that combination
Bobby and Dennis
working between, one Bobby and Dennis and then Bobby and Stan? Give me the differences.
Oh, man, I tell you, both of them were hell of a workers. I had the pleasure to work with Dennis Condrey with my brother against Phil Hickerson. Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey were a hell of a team. And I got to work with David Schultz. I did my first comeback against David Schultz, and he started calling head scissors and all that stuff. And hell, I was only 18 years old. And that's what I'm saying. The stuff that me and my brother did eventually led back to what me and Ricky Morton did, like the double drop kick. That was mine and my brother's things back in the day.
When did you guys know that you had this great chemistry with the Midnight Express? Because that's one of my favorite feuds of all time. We'll go on to talk about y'all versus Arn and Ole or Arn and Tully, but the Rock and Roll versus Midnight, Jesus Christ! I mean, I don't think you guys could ever have a bad match, and I don't think you ever did. Was it always like that from Jump Street?
Man, it was like that from Jump Street. It was you knew it was over when the fans were wanting to get in the ring, and you'd have riots here and there, and then when wrestling was over, you go to your car and you get swamped by the fans. The girls were like going crazy. they'd be crying at ringside, and it was over. Then they're chasing you down the highway. It was unbelievable.
How wild was life back in those days? I know you're all settled in now, but how was life back in the day on the roads? Did you sleep much?
I was telling somebody the other day, I remember in '85, I just bought me a brand new black Trans Am. It looked like the Knight Rider car. So me and Ricky get in that car, and we drive to Memphis. We drive to Greensboro, North Carolina. As we pull up in this brand new car, I think I had like a $10,000 paint job on this thing. As I pull in the back of the arena, there must have been 3,000 fans on top of my car. I'm blowing the horn and get the F off my car. And, I mean, they're on the windshield, they're on my hood, they're on my roof. And you look out the window and you couldn't do anything because they were probably 50 people deep. They were pushing up against the car, and the people that were next to the car, their faces were just smashed in the windshield in the car. But my car looked like it come out of a damn derby.
You know,
it took them 45 minutes to get us out of a car. And back then, you remember Doug Dillinger, right?
Yes, I do.
That's how he got his job, to security, to keep people back. Finally, Greensboro, after that incident, they put up a fence out back for the boys to park. It was crazy.
You know, it's funny when you get a nice car like that, you're happy to see the people. You're happy they're so rabid to see you. But when you're in your brand new Trans Am with a $10,000 paint job, you just don't want them on your car.
No, I mean, I was cussing, blowing the horn, get off. You know, it was crazy. I remember one time they had a lookalike contest, and these two kids got to win the tickets to they dressed up like me and Ricky, so they got to go to the theme park there in Rock Hill. So the limousine picked them up, and Crockett's limousine picked them up, and me, Ricky, and these two kids went to the theme park, and our first ride was a roller coaster. So I got one kid in the car with me, and Ricky's got one in the little buggy with him. We take off on this roller coaster, and all of a sudden they just stop it, like the power went out. You know, here comes security. Said, guys, y'all have got to leave the amusement park. We say, we're here with these kids. You know, what's going on? They said, no, y'all don't understand. Everybody in this theme park, they're either at the exit or the entrance. So they took us out of that cart. We're climbing over the rails, me, Rick, and these kids. They took us out the back gate, and we had to leave the amusement park.
Why? Because there's people trying to get in?
Exactly. We shut down the amusement park. All the fans were at the entrance gate. I mean, all the people were right there. It was crazy.
With as over as you guys were, how tough was it to get around? Just to go to the store, go to like a Denny's or a IHOP or a Waffle House just to get a bite to eat if you're on the road? Well,
I'm sure I know you experienced that. It was the same way probably the same it was with you, Steve. It was you couldn't. I remember in Charlotte, they actually had the police every night. There would be a different cop out in our driveway, parked out in front of the house just to keep people out. It was stupid crazy. I remember when at Trans Am, when I pulled in my neighborhood, I had it timed out just right. When I turned that corner, I could push my garage button and haul ass and be in my garage before the door shut. I mean, it was that crazy.
How long did the Trans Am last?
Probably 3 years. I finally just had to get rid of it. Got too many speeding tickets in it. It was crazy. I bought that Trans Am from Billy Jack. Remember Billy Jack?
Yeah. Well, you probably got a
He
good
used to
deal
have that car.
right?
I got a heck of a deal. He used to just have it in car shows. But, yeah, I finally probably run the tires off of it.
Other territories that you guys worked, Mid-South was one of my favorite wrestling programs of all time, you know, when Watts was running there in the mid-'80s, when you guys were there,
yeah.
or Crockett's NWA, which would turn into WCW, you know, mid-'80s, late 80s, all that stuff. What was your favorite promotion to work? Because to me, I guess I like the stuff from the Crockett's. I loved when you guys were doing business, whether it was with the Horsemen or, you know, Ole and Arn or whatever. But what was your favorite territory personally?
to be honest with you, I liked Memphis when we first started, and then we went to Louisiana. I really loved that. The only thing I didn't like that, they had them long roads, with no interstates up there. You did them back roads, and Bill Watts run a tight territory. You couldn't be late, then we got to Crockett. We got on nationwide TV, and Charlotte become home. Charlotte was great.
Hey, how tough was that travel schedule working with Bill in Mid-South? Because I've heard nothing but horror stories from the boys talking about how long those roads were. Because, you're basically, y'all working about 3 or 4 state area, weren't you?
Exactly. Every night was 250, 300-mile trip wherever you went. And it was all back roads, all 2-lane highways back then. The only time you ever got on the interstate if you was going east or west on Interstate 10. Other than that, it was just back roads driving.
And a lot of that stuff down in Mississippi as well, right?
Oh, yeah. You'd be driving. You see a tractor in the middle of the road or a cow or, And we did a lot of traveling back in with Mike Thaw's Jim Duggan. We always carpooled a lot whenever we could. Terry Taylor, Magnum. It was fun.
Hey, man, I saw
really
I guess it was some time. I don't know if it was, I guess it was USWA because it seemed like it was a Memphis TV taping. And you guys, it was you and Ricky, rock and roll, and y'all working with Wildside. And it was Chris Champion and Mark Starr. It was that version of them. And so you get thrown out, and then here comes Chris Champion off the side of the apron with the flag pole, hit you in the head. Boys, you get a good little zipper, go back in the ring. Dude, where were you wearing your blade?
In my mouth.
Really?
Yeah, I always carried it in my mouth.
Because I was looking, I said, man, he sure got that clean and fast. And I was like, where did it come from? It was so seamless.
Yeah.
And I never saw you deposit it anywhere, so I just had to ask kind of randomly because it was a slick job.
Yeah, that's something my brother taught me. Kept it right in your mouth. When it was time, you spit it out, you did it, and you drop it in. You'd grab your opponent by the tights, you pull him for a gut shot, and you would dispose of it.
I'll be damned.
It sure it is. That's how we... Everybody else carry them different places, but I always carried mine up in my mouth. I remember one time my brother, we was working Continental one night, and Dennis Condrey gave him a backdrop. What he did, it shot up in the air, and Phil Hickerson caught it in the air. He took that bump, shot out of his mouth, and he caught it like right in midair.
All right, before we continue on with Robert Gibson, if you're looking for some help in jumpstarting your health and fitness plan, look no further than Diamond Dallas Page and his DDPY program. Dallas knows how hard it is to get on that path to a healthier living and stick to it. That's why he created the DDPY program, which is more than just a workout. Dallas gives you all the tools and information you need to eat better, exercise, and monitor your progress. He also offers plenty of his own personal motivation, and right now, he's offering y'all 25% off the DDPY DVDs, the DDP Yoga Now app, and all DDPY swag. You can get 25% off t-shirts, mats, heart rate monitors, hats, and more. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. That ain't all. If you buy the DDPY Max Pack today, you'll get 50% off your second copy. So that's 50% off the 25% off you're already getting. That's a huge savings. And, of course, if you buy the DDPY DVDs for 25% off, you still get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga Now app. Dallas's program has already helped thousands of people, and not just professional wrestlers like Scott Hall, Jake the Snake, and Mick Foley. DDPY helped disabled veteran Arthur Borman and literally thousands of people just like you and me get on the path to healthier living. So take control of your own health and fitness. Get on the DDPY program today and take advantage of this huge sale. 25% off DDPY and all related merch at ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's ddpyoga.com/Austin. Everybody's got a to-do list. Drop off the dry cleaning, pick up some milk. Here's an idea. Let's save hundreds of dollars on car insurance. And the good thing is you don't have to drop off or pick up anything. All you have to do is go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. Extra money in your pocket. It just may be the most rewarding you do today. Did you ever get burned out as much as you guys are running, as hard as you guys are running with the party lifestyle and the travel from the professional work style?
It was rough back then, especially in the Crockett days, because he worked us 9 days a week. We'd work twice on Saturday TV, and then we'd fly to Philadelphia or Chicago that night. And Sunday we'd do an afternoon show and then a night show. And it got so bad, we went 9 months without a day off.
Are you serious?
Working 9 days a week, and out of that week, Steve, you got to realize we were doing 5-6 hour Broadways every night for a week. And this lasted, it got so bad, finally we told Crockett, said, look, we've got to have a day off. And Crockett's words were, if we leave y'all off, we'll lose 25 or 30 grand.
That's how much you guys help them carry that territory.
Yeah, he said, if we let you off, that's how much the company would lose. Finally, we had to fake an injury just to get just one of us to get a day off. I'd get a day off, and then Ricky get hurt or say he was hurt, and he'd get a day off. That was the only way they would let us out.
They were running you guys that hard, and just so literally you had no say.
Had no say. They run us so fast, and they were selling so much merchandise, and they kept all that, and it was crazy. They kept us so busy that we didn't know what was going on.
How did that play into your family life? When I got into business, I got 3 divorces, but I wasn't on the road nearly as much as you guys were. How did that play for you? Especially given that schedule you just lined out for me.
Yeah, I've only been married once, and it only lasted a few years. Especially when they had a winter date, same time they had that Kids Look-alike thing. They had a night with the Rock and Roll Express in New York City, a winter date, and girls got to send in why they, and I think it was like 15 words or less, why you want to go out with the Rock and Roll Express. And they picked these 2 girls, and they didn't get over too good with the wives.
I don't imagine so.
But one thing about it, when I first went to Mid-South, Bill Watts didn't have no airplane. After we was there 3 years, he done bought him a jet. And then we go to Carolinas. Crockett and him didn't have no airplane. And he ended up buying a jet and a 24-seater. So he bought 2 planes. So we go to New York City with these 2 girls and went and saw the play The Cats, and Bill after was there, and they, like I said, they run us so much. It was doing them hour Broadways, and that was a toll on your body. And one night we wrestled, me and Ricky wrestled Ole and Arn in a cage match. And can you believe Dusty made us go an hour Broadway in a cage?
Boy, that's asking a little much. Speaking of Arn and Ole, some of my favorite rock and roll matches are with Arn and Ole, and certainly Arn and Tully were a force as well, but I just liked Ole because he fit in there with that big bully style. He was kind of the heater. Arn would come in, and take some bumps or take a DDT or what was that damn enziguri kick at you or Ricky used to do, stuff like that to pick the match up. He'd be the high spot guy, but I just liked Tully in that big bully role. How was it working with those 2 guys? Because I've heard, on one hand, a lot of times Ole didn't want to sell for Ricky. He didn't want to. He just played the big guy routine, and y'all had to earn his respect.
Right. Well, when he first came in, he told Crockett, when he first saw it, he said, them guys are too little, You can't draw no money with them guys. And Crockett said, Ole, you don't understand. These guys are selling out everywhere. So anyway, Ole said, okay, he's going to do it. He went out there and worked with us. And Ole, when you made a comeback on him, he would hold that rope and just rock. You give him 15, 20 punches, he would just rock. One night in Charleston, I'll never forget, it was at the Civic Center, and I think I gave Ricky the hot tag that night, and Ricky come in, hitting Ole, and Ole's holding that rope, and he's just rocking. Finally, Ricky Morton just stopped during the comeback. He just stopped, walked to the center of the ring, and Ricky took a flat bump. Bam! I can see Ole's holding the rope, and he looked down at Ricky and goes, what the F are you doing? And Ricky looked up at him and said, hell, you wouldn't go down. I thought I would. And Ole says, I don't know whether to kick your ass or shake your hand. But after that incident, he started taking slams off the top turnbuckle and everything. and we drew a lot of money with them. They did a rock and roll Super Summer Sizzler where they got me and Ricky a big bus, and they put on the side of it, Rock and Roll Express Super Summer Sizzler. And everybody else in the territory, all the top guys, I think Crockett flew them all to Hawaii or wherever they wanted to go for that week. So they worked me and Ole and Ricky and Andersons and me and Ricky all over the spot show territory. And I think we did $250,000 worth of business that week.
God dang.
Just in spot shows. Florence, South Carolina. You've been there, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Florence, South Carolina, outside in a ball field, we did $48,000 in Florence, South Carolina, which was crazy. I remember our first night after we won the titles, we go to Raleigh, North Carolina, and we did $47,000 the first night. The next morning, Dusty Rose calls us in the office. He said, "Boys, y'all broke a record." He said the record in that town was Ric Flair and Black Jack Mulligan. It was $27,000. And our first night there was $48,000. And he said, "Boys, that's like Babe Ruth. That record would never, Dusty said that record would never be broken." Well, 2 weeks later, we come back again with the Russians there, and it did $56,000. So after that, Dusty says, "Well, hell, the Russians, let's do a 6-man." So he did a 6-man, and our third appearance back here, we did $72,000 in the town. So it went from the record of 27, 48, 56 to 72,000.
But you guys were, what was it, on the Mid-South or the Crockett? They had you guys on the, I guess it'd be on the B tour, but y'all were outdrawing the A guys.
Yeah.
So
I remember Dick Murdoch one time.
What'd he say?
Yeah, I remember Dick Murdoch was on the plane, and Dusty says, "Dickie, you ready to come back with the A team?" He said, "Hell no. B team's is outdrawing the A team." I thought, "Oh shit, there goes some more heat." He said, "Hell no." And then Wahoo McDaniel, "No, keep us on the B team," he said. And also back then, when Vern Gagne sold out to Crockett, they took the whole top A team went to Baltimore, and they left me and Ricky against a Barbarian and I'm trying to think of his name. It'll come to me here in a minute. But anyway, they took the top crew to Baltimore, and they left us there in Charlotte. Well, we sold out Charlotte. The next morning, Dusty called us in the office. He says, "Rock and roll, there's 2 things you don't do in this territory." "What's that, Dusty?" "Y'all do not, and I mean y'all do not, sell out the Charlotte Coliseum when I am not on the card."
So y'all got hit for selling out Charlotte?
Because he wasn't on the card. And that's when he started trying to pull us apart. He tried to put us in single matches. And that didn't last either because the fans wanted the team. I thought, wow, that's pretty heavy.
Boy,
Pretty sure that was his exact words. Y'all do not sell out when I'm not on the card.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what you're trying to do. You know, wherever they send you, you want to do business. If you wasn't doing any business, they're gonna fire you. Now, all of a sudden, you got an ego problem because you're selling out, and it's the booker telling you that you don't sell out if you ain't on the card. Well, he should have put himself on the card. Well, and he should be happy that you're selling out and breaking records.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what happened, my friend.
Hey, I was reading an article before we got on the phone, and I guess it was either you or Ricky talking, and as long as I think it was Ricky, because like he considers you like a brother, and you guys aren't blood brothers, but you guys are as close as brothers, but there's been good times and bad times. How often, or how hard was it? I mean, you can imagine like a rock and roll band tries to keep all of the members happy, and the Eagles, there was more of them than 2, but man, with so many egos and the band going in different directions, they just split apart and never got back together until hell finally froze over and everybody was flying to the gigs in different airplanes. So with you and Ricky, how did you guys maintain a relationship, and what caused a rift or divide whenever a problem would arise, and how would you guys settle the thing down? I guess I'm asking, how did you guys keep this thing together? Because it wasn't all fun and games.
Exactly. I was with him more than I was my wife, I mean, on the road, I was with him every day. 9 months together with anybody, he's going to be on your nerves. So when it come to that point, we would just ride different. We'd go in different cars. And we'd meet up at the arena, do our thing, and then we'd take off again in different cars. We always did business because that was the name of the game back then. You had to do business. So we were smart enough. We knew where our bread was buttered together. But if we did have differences, we would just ride in different cars. I mean, we never come to a point where we're going, fight each other or not.
Well, how would you guys know about? I mean, I probably know the answer to this question, but who's going to sell? Who's going to stand on the apron? But Ricky probably sold because.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, it was like both of us. We were both sold. Matter of fact, our very first night when we won the world title, I think I sold for 30 minutes and gave Ricky the hot tag. But after that, then it went for him to sell because I was the biggest of the two.
Yep.
And it didn't really look good for the bigger guy to give the smaller guy the hot tag.
Right.
And a lot of times we'd be in there working. And we both, our chemistry was so good together that a lot of times during a match, we would just swap because that's what it was there at the time to do that. And we could take each other's spot like it wasn't nothing.
Right.
We could adjust, either way.
You guys are still working some shots right now, right?
Oh, yeah, we're still double drop kicking. Now, instead of the people hollering rock and roll, they still do that, but now a lot of times they holler, y'all still got it. That's the chant now. Y'all still got it.
But on that note, I want to ask you, I lasted 13, 14 years in the business, got dropped on my head. You guys have been in the ring now for, if you started when you were 16, you've been around 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
So how's your body feeling?
42 years.
How's your body feeling?
The only major things I've had happen to me, I had ACL done, cracked ribs, teeth knocked out, stitches. But other than that, one thing about me and Ricky, I guess we've never stopped. We kept going. I guess if we would stop, we wouldn't be able to walk. I guess we're stove up, Yeah,
I think if you just keep the gears going, I guess. But also, when I look at you guys' style, y'all never. I mean, certainly there was a bump or two that was out of the ordinary, but for the most of the time, I mean, you guys, it was just work a body part. Your normal bumps. There was nothing crazy. There was nothing cruiserweight style, and so you were working a pro style match, which is grounded with safety and psychology, and the fact that you guys were so over, and working with the guys that you were working with, and in many cases were so over. I mean, sure, y'all were tearing down the house with these matches, but my point is you didn't have to do anything crazy to put your bodies on the line to elicit a response, and so it was a safe style.
Right. There was times that we shot over the cage and shot through there and got hurt. I remember racing Virginia one night working against the Johnny Ace men and sheep herders. And I took that bump over the top rope where they pull the rope down like over backwards.
Yes.
As I land on the floor, Johnny Ace he was green back then. He was managing the sheep herders. And I remember coming up my face on the concrete and starting to get up. And Johnny Ace came out of nowhere, stomped me in the back of the head, and I think it chipped like seven of my front teeth to the concrete. And I felt the impact. I saw the blood come out. I didn't realize it chipped my teeth until I took a breath. And it was like a cold shot going to my brain. I thought, holy shit. But yeah, he got 7 of my teeth chipped out. We did take the bumps off the top and all that, but like you said, it was mainly just more or less the bumps.
What happened in 1990 with your knee? Because in 91, I guess there'd be like a Ricky turned heel on you, but you were coming back from a knee injury. What did you do to that knee?
We were in Jacksonville, Florida, working Doom, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons.
Yep.
And Butch had my leg extended. Ron come off the top rope on my knee, and it sounded like a firecracker went off. Pow! And I thought maybe just hyperextended it. So I worked 3 more nights. And that third night, I told Crockett, I said, I got to go get this thing checked out. I want to wrap it up. It was as big as a balloon. But we were the world champions then. And, you had to defend that belt every night. So I'd wrap it up and put heat on it and try to get that swelling down. And after the third night, they sent me to Atlanta. I went and saw the doctor, and Dr. Andrews. And as soon as I walked in there, in about 3 seconds, he says, well, you snapped your ACL. I didn't know what an ACL was. I said, okay, what are we going to do? He says, you ain't going to do nothing. He says, you're going to be out for about 9 months. I said, Doc, you don't understand. I got to wrestle tonight. He says, the only reason you're walking now is because your other ligaments are so strong. He said, if it wasn't for that, your knee would just be dangling. So I did the surgery, 4-hour major surgery back in. They didn't have the arthroscopic. It was a major surgery.
Yep.
And they put me out for 9 months. So about 8.5 months goes by. I'm getting ready to get back in the ring. And Ricky Morton calls me up and says, hey, they want to turn me heel. I said, Ricky, don't fall for that. I says, again, this was Dusty Rhodes and Magnum and them. I said, Ricky, don't fall for that. I said, you know what they're trying to do? I said, just wait, because I'll come back and we can be hot as ever, Or we can rejoin. He said, well, they got this big contract. I said, okay, do what you want to do. So they brought me in. They shot that angle where Ricky turned on me. And we had our match in Baltimore. And about 3 days later, I'm at home. I get a note from WCW and says, we no longer need your services. And about 3 weeks later, they let Ricky Morton go.
Oh, man.
So that was just a way to get us out of the picture.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And Ricky told me later, he said, I wished I'd have never done that. I said, I tried to tell you that's what their plans were. Then I went to Smoky Mountain, and Ricky come join me in Smoky Mountain. And then Bill Watts got the book. Remember Bill Watts got the book in WCW?
Yep.
For a little short time. Just for a little short time. He brought me and Ricky in from Smoky Mountain. He brought us to center stage, and we came out and got a hell of a pop. And I still got it on tape, and you can see it where Bill Watts just holds his hands up, like I guess he told the office this is what they need. Anyway, the next day he had an incident in the office where he got fired, so we never did come back together there.
But that was going to be in the makings, because I had just come in. I believe I might have been on the crew, or I was coming in right on the heels of that if I wasn't already there, because Dusty had the book, and then I came in and Dusty hired me. But then Watts came in. He rescinded the top rope rule. He took the pads away from outside of the ring, and so then I guess he had taken over. Was that at the time?
Yeah, that was it.
So y'all had a chance to get back together, but then you didn't.
Yeah, he was going to bring us back in right there. That he got released. He got fired, I think.
Yeah, I heard. I heard that just. Well, there's many different things that I heard, but one thing I heard, he had a gun in that office, among other things. But I just doesn't seem like he was a good fit in that company. I
heard it was something to do with the secretary.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear that, but if it was, it was. Do you think, as hot as he had the territory down in Mid-South, that the business passed him by, or he just wasn't good in a corporate setting?
He liked to do things his way, I guess.
Right.
I don't think he was just to the corporate setting. That's what I would say. When
you guys went and worked with Smoky Mountain, your relationship with Jim Cornette, obviously all the battles, you guys had to be good friends. What was your relationship like with Jim Cornette? Listening him, be on the receiving, on the giving end of those wonderful promos that he cut, or the receiving end of that loaded tennis racket to get heat.
Right. See, I met Jimmy Cornette when me and my brother was partners in Louisville, Kentucky. He used to take pictures of the boys.
Yeah.
And then the boys would order their pictures from him. But he still had a lot of heat with the boys. So I remember Jerry Jarrett asked him one time, he said, Jimmy, you ever thought about being a manager? He said, well, not really. He said, well, look, if you can be a manager and get heat with these people like you do these boys, he said, you'll get over real good. So that's how he got his start. And I remember one night we was down in Louisiana. I think it was Baton Rouge, and you hit them ropes, and Cornette would always catch you with that racket.
Yep.
Well, this one particular night, as I hit that rope, he swung that racket instead of hitting me flat. He caught me on the rim of it.
Yep.
And boy, right in my ribs. I mean, I went down. I thought he cracked my 3 or 4 ribs. So when I got back to the dressing room, he's over there, and I grabbed his damn racket. I said, "Stand up." He said, "What?" I said, "Stand up. I'm fixing to hit you like you hit me." And he looked at me. I said, "Turn around." And boy, you see the fear in his eyes as he turned around. I reared back to hit him. And I just tossed him that racket. I said, "Buddy, next time, make that sumbitch flat."
Right.
I never hit him, though. I just let him know, damn, son, you like to kill me out there. but he stood up. He bent over. He was going to take the lick.
Why did he have so much heat with the boys that they thought he could get heat with the audiences just by the way he talked?
He was like a little nerd, I guess. He was the way he walked around. He did things his way, and you know, I never had any trouble with him. I love Jimmy. Jimmy's a super guy.
Oh, hell, I didn't know. Yeah, well, that's funny just hearing that story. I knew that he started off as a photographer, but I didn't know that someone came up to him and said, "Hey, man, you could get heat with the boys. If you could talk like that and get heat as a manager, you could get over and sell tickets." And he's one of my favorite managers of all time. Yeah,
I guess that's the way Jared approached him. That's exactly what he said.
That was
get heat like that with the boys, you'd be a good manager.
It was his life's calling, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's one of the best managers of all time.
Oh, I agree 100%. I used to get so mad at him, I wanted to throw something at my TV because I wanted him to shut up. And he could go on and on and on. He never repeated himself. He'd just go on these different tangents. And when was somebody, please shut this guy up. So, I mean, you know, he was one of those guys that I didn't like to hate. I hated him. I just hated everything about him. So he was really effective at his job. What are you doing now? Because I know Ricky's, because I know Ricky's got that wrestling school over in Chucky, Tennessee.
Yeah, I've got one here in Douglasville, Georgia.
Oh, what are you doing over there?
I got a youth class. I train these little kids, 9 to 13, and I got an adult class. I've had my school over here probably about 2.5 years.
You live in Douglasville, Georgia?
Matter of fact, I live here, and everybody says you used to live here.
Yeah, man, I used to live in Villa Rica, right off of Post Road. I mean, I lived in a log cabin out there on Smith Road. I can't believe you ended up in Douglasville.
Yeah, I'm here in Douglasville. Matter of fact, I'm the exit before in Douglas. I'm the exit before Post Road.
God dang! Boy, I tell you what. We used to get fired up out there. I mean, I'm claustrophobic, but Villa Rica, that little city that's right down, not that highway, whatever it is.
78.
Yes,
61.
Right down 78. There's some old gold mines back here because Villa Rica, I guess, means city of gold. And I had this buddy. He was part Indian. So we'd walk the rivers with these headlamps on, and we'd be gigging frogs and stuff like that, and we'd go deer hunting. And one thing Billy liked to do was walk in those old gold mines. And man, we'd drink some at the cheap version of Gold Strike or Gold Slogger. We drink at Gold Strike, and then you drink some beer with that. And even though that Gold Strike's only about 80 proof, that combined with that beer, I mean, it'd make you stupid. And these days, I mean, we would go back there and walk through all those abandoned gold mines, and they were, shut down, and you were supposed to stay out of them because all the quartz was rotten. You could have got trapped in there. Man, we'd walk back in there with our headlamps on, and I tell you what, Robert, I'm so damn claustrophobic. I mean, you couldn't get 10 power lifters, whatever, the baddest shoot fighters in the world to get me nowhere near that damn tunnel. But we used to walk those things all the time, or walk the rivers. But I got a lot of good memories of Douglasville. How do people find out about getting into your school or contacting you?
It's on. You get on Facebook. It's called All Pro Championship Wrestling Academy.
All Pro Championship Wrestling Academy.
Yeah, in Douglasville. And I run a show here once a month at the Armory, and I have a good little turnout once a month there. And basically, I love the business, and in my training center, I get down there, and I still get in the ring with the boys and show them, the best of my ability, and I got a bunch of good little kids there already.
God dang, I'll be dang. So when these guys come in, you got a new group coming in. Are you just starting off with the basics? I mean, some tumbling drills, learn how to take a flat back. How does Robert Gibson start these guys out?
I start them off with a forward roll.
Yep.
Make sure they know how to roll back to the feet, the basics, and then I go from there. I got a youth class, and the other day my 12-year-old come in. He said, "Coach," he said, "I'm ready to debut." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm ready to debut, buddy." And I tell you, if he was 17, 18, I'd put him in the ring already. That's how good they are. These young kids are catching on so quick.
Is it basic style? Is it the style that's going on inside the WWE?
Yeah, they're doing leapfrogs. They're doing sunset flips. They're doing the backslides. They're doing the small packages, schoolboys.
God dang. Hey, it was good talking to you, Robert. Who actually called you today, or whenever they called you, to let you know that you were going to be in the Hall of Fame?
What's his name? Connors?
Shoot, I don't know anybody that anymore. But did you think it was a rib at first, or did you recognize the number, or what?
Well, yeah, I recognize the number because it was an old WWF number I had in my phone.
Right.
And it showed up WWF. Mark Carino is who it was, and he set it up. Then a couple more people called me. Matter of fact, I got a text a while ago from Jake the Snake Roberts congratulating me. Flair called me and he said, "Boys, way past overdue." He said, "The beer's on me." Oh, Ric Flair! What great matches we had with them boys.
Oh, unbelievable. So who called who first? Did you call Ricky, or did Ricky call you? Ricky Morton, your partner?
They called me, and then I called Ricky, and then about the time I was talking to Ricky, they called Ricky as I was talking to him.
I talked to him earlier today to tell him congratulations. He said it was one of the most exciting moments of his life.
It definitely is. Definitely is. I tell you, one of my great moments today when you called me, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I followed your career, and my hat's off to you. You're one of the best.
Oh man, I had a good time doing it. But again, I grew up watching you guys. I mean, we're very close in age, but you guys got in the business before I did. But I was just a huge fan, and when I found out that you guys were going in today, I apologize. I wish I would have done more research for the conversation, but I just said, man, I got to have one of these guys on the podcast, and you and I were talking, and the podcast came up. So it was good talking to you. I don't know if I'll be down in Florida or not. If I do, I'll see you and shake your hand and say welcome to the Hall of Fame. But God dang, from right now being in California, talking to you down in Georgia, my old stomping grounds, man, I'm so happy and so proud of you guys that you got one of the greatest tag teams in the history of the business, and so to be recognized by the WWE, I just think it's an awesome thing. So I'm happy for you guys, and I'm proud of you.
I just think it's kind of crazy. We've been together since '82. It's going to be a hard record to break for a tag team being together that long.
I don't think you'll ever see it again. I really don't.
I don't either. That's what I told Ricky the other day. I said, I don't think it's a tag team that's been together nowhere near this. It's going to take a long time for somebody to break that record.
Yeah. You and I were talking before we started the podcast about the Super Bowl. And, with the way that finish went down, I thought Atlanta kind of gave that football game away. And when you speak about like the rock and roll, you look at what Tom Brady's done, won 5 Super Bowls, been to 7, MVP of 4. It'll be a long time, if ever someone comes close to that record. I don't see it happening. I don't see anybody coming close to doing what Tom Brady has done since he's eclipsed the best. It's going to take, I don't think we'll ever see what Tom Brady's doing right now be broken.
I know either, my friend. All I can say, next time I see you in a ring, I got to throw you a beer, and we got to have one.
I'm down for that.
I got to try that. I heard you got a new beer out.
Man, it's Broken Skull IPA. I will, if I get down there or whenever we see each other, I will bring some of my beer.
Ricky Morton told me he said he didn't want to taste that beer. Is that true?
No, he says, man, send me some of that beer. And I said, man, I know you ain't going to like it. I said, if he still wants some, I'll send it to him. But it's an IPA. And I was down at my ranch, and last year my sister came down, and me and my buddy was in there drinking my beer, and my sister, because you can only get it in California or have it shipped to you. She goes, "Is that your beer?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can I have some?" I said, "Well, of course you can." And so she drank it and she swallowed it. And she's used to drinking, just regular light beer. And she had this funny look on her face. And like, what the F was that? And I said, "It's all right. Don't worry about it," because she don't want to hurt my feelings. I said, this is an IPA. It's a million miles away from a light beer. So I said, it took me about, a year and a half to acquire the taste that I did. Yeah, so it was kind of a journey. And so that was my journey. I ended up with the IPA, but I told Ricky, I said, "Man, you ain't like his stuff, but I'll ship him some. Hell, I'll ship you some." Congratulations on going into the damn Hall of Fame.
Thanks for giving me the time, buddy, because it definitely is a pleasure going up there and getting that ring and being in the ring in front of a lot of my peers up there and seeing all the guys again. That's going to be a big honor.
Well, it's the best of the best, and y'all are the best of the best. So we'll end on that note, man. Congratulations again, Robert.
All right, man. Keep rocking, Steve.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. Before I do, I want to say congratulations to the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, one of the greatest tag teams I've ever seen in my life. They're going into the WWE Hall of Fame right before, the Saturday before, the night before, the big WrestleMania down in Orlando, Florida. So congratulations to the Rock and Roll Express, one of my favorites of all time. I enjoyed watching these guys do battle with everybody they ever worked with. And, man, you talk about money. They drew a ton of it, and they're finally getting their just due going into the Hall of Fame. Holy smokes, congratulations. I'm probably almost as excited as they are. It was fun talking to Robert Gibson today. He called me right after the podcast. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "I've never talked so much in my life." He goes, "I wasn't really the guy that talked a whole lot on the promos. I got more time on your podcast than I do doing promos." But anyway, sometimes these Skype connections are a little rough. Took us a while to get dialed in there. That's why I try to do most of my interviews in person. But god dang, it was good talking to Robert, and he sounds really, really good. I want to give you guys something to watch, and it's on YouTube. And I've told you guys about this match before, but because this just happened, and it's just a great, fun, short match to watch. If you get on YouTube, type in Rock and Roll Express versus Ole and Arn Anderson Worldwide, August the 2nd, 1986. I've talked about this match before, but again, I was looking for the one in the cage, but this one popped up, and it's an instant classic. Ends when Arn pulls the top rope down, and Robert takes the bump over. He talked about a similar bump on the podcast. Anyway, this is just a great match. You can see how hot this crowd is, how over the Rock and Roll is, how over Ole and Arn are, and it's just a great short match. So that's my watch of the day. And if you can find that Greensboro, North Carolina cage match with Ole and Arn versus Ricky and Robert, you got to watch that one as well. It's only about a 10 or 12-minute match, and it is an all-time classic. But anyway, congratulations to the Rock and Roll Express. Hey, man. I'm about to drop some new T-shirts over there at ProWrestlingTees.com. All the stuff I wore on Broken Skull Challenge, the baddest, toughest show on television. I've been getting a lot of damn emails. People are asking me, "Hey, man, you can do Season 5 of Broken Skull Challenge." I don't know. We're waiting to get word, and we're going to see what's up. But if you want one of the T-shirts I was wearing, go to ProWrestlingTees.com or BrokenSkullRanch.com. And if you're looking for the best damn IPA in the United States of America, get Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. Hell, if you fly into L.A., it's only 4 miles out of your way. Stop by the brewery in El Segundo right off 140 Main Street. And in California, you can find it at Whole Foods and Total Wines, or you can order it from InsideTheCellar.com if you live in a state that they ship to. And you can find everything at my website, BrokenSkullRanch.com, including the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife. And if you want the best price on the baddest knife on the planet, go to Amazon. Hell, you can get it there for $75, and use my links when you do, because all my links are at thepodcast1.com. Click on the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page, and then hit the Steve Austin Show button. I got Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada. And if you use my Amazon links whenever you're doing any online shopping, Amazon will kick back a couple of bucks to the podcast. It doesn't cost you anything extra. There's no hidden fees or charges. You can buy whatever you plan on buying to help out the podcast in the process. Bookmark it. That way you can find it in one step. You'll also find links to the great sponsors of this podcast. I appreciate y'all supporting the sponsors. They're the ones that let me do this for you free twice a week. So big thanks to DDP Yoga. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and get 25% off all DDPY DVDs and related merch. To the Books, go to Books.com and use my promo code Steve to get 20% off your flower order. To Dollar Shave Club, go to dollarshaveclub.com/Austin to start your 1-month trial of any of their razors for just $1 with free shipping. To Hanes with Fresh IQ, go to Hanes.com and use the promo code FRESHAUSTIN to get $15 off any order of $75 or more. Hey, the 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
I want to say thank you to Drop Stop, one of the great sponsors of this show. Drop Stop is the original patented seat gap filler, as seen on TV's Shark Tank. Get the original Drop Stop at buydropstop.com and use code STEVE for 2 free gifts and free shipping. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
The Angry President. I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. We've learned that President Trump was seething when he fired FBI Director James Comey. He felt Comey let the FBI's Russia investigation play out in the press, we're told. Former Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone tells the Today Show this morning the Trump presidential campaign did not collude with Moscow.
The idea of Russian collusion is a canard. It's a falsehood.
Earlier on the Today Show, White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about a line in the president's termination letter to Comey that read, "I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation." Some have called that statement into question. Sanders was asked about it.
Look, I'm not sure on the reasoning behind that exact part being in there, but I do know I spoke to the president directly, and he said that those moments and conversations did take place.
I'm Rita Foley.